So today I wanted to talk to you about social media, and in particular looking at probably the less sexy side of it. So looking at governance and issues that you might come up against when you're implementing social media. So my background is in social media and digital marketing. I've been working in this field for kind of as long as social's been around, really, for about 10 years. And I've come up against a number of problems along the way. The context that I'm going to share with you is mainly around implementing social media in businesses. So that's in kind of medium to large scale organisations. So I've worked with companies that have a couple of hundred employees, so smaller ones. I've also worked with companies that have kind of in excess of 100,000 employees and implementing social media in those organisations. So when it comes to actually implementing social media, there's a couple of things that you really need to think about. And the first one is change management. So making sure that whatever you're putting out there, whatever you're doing on social media, you've engaged people internally and that everyone feels informed. They feel like they've had a chance to air their concerns and that their concerns are being addressed and that you're listening to people. So change management is one really important thing. The other part of it is more from a kind of an internal politics perspective, really, and that's looking at things like, how does your social media approach align with strategy? How does it align with communications that are happening elsewhere in the business? How does it show up from a legal perspective? Have you looked at, if you're, for example, using it for e-commerce, how is that going to impact the bottom line? If you're using it for advertising, how does that spend tie into everything else? So there's a number of things that you need to think about. And the easiest way that I found of tackling any of these challenges is to talk them through. And it might sound like super common sense, and that's what I kind of tend to come back to. That's my approach on life. It's like, do the simplest thing. Do what's going to work, do what's going to change kind of people's minds about what you're doing. One thing that people can get really hung up on in marketing in general is the idea of sign-offs. And sign-offs can be a real problem with social media because, as a lot of you will know if you already use it, it's really reactive, and you've got to be able to go straight back to someone and in a conversational way and respond in real time, and there isn't always time for kind of big governance board meetings or lengthy sign-off processes. So one way that I tackled this in a previous role was I actually worked with our legal team to create a document that we called the red flag document. I'm doing that as if I've got it there, red flags. So what this was basically a list of topics, and these were the topics that we wouldn't cover on social media. And if we did come up to a point where we felt that we had to respond or get involved in conversations around those topics, then we would engage legal from a sign-off perspective. But a lot of social media is actually building trust, and not just building trust with your customers and with consumers, but also looking at how you build trust internally in organisations. And again, that comes all back to relationships and having good conversations and making sure that you bring people along on your journey. So it can be very easy, I think, from a social media perspective, to kind of shroud what you do in technology. And really what we do with social is not about technology at all. It's about people and conversations and relationships. And that's what you need to think of about the offline side of social as much as you do when you're kind of building those relationships with customers online. So I would encourage you to have those conversations, set up meetings, be nice to people, go have coffee with people, tell them your ambitions and your plans and your dreams for what you want to do with social, and try and bring them along on that journey. And you're always going to come across haters. People are always going to not want to back your project. In that case, what I would say is seek forgiveness rather than approval. Maybe you might get in trouble for it, but it's always worked for me. I think sometimes you have to try something and prove that it works, or try something and fail and learn from it and improve it for next time. But I think with social media, a lot of it is taking risks. But I think if you have the right relationships in place, that you know what the rules are so that you can either play to them or bend them, and that you're willing to kind of be brave and get out there and give things a try, hopefully that will work for you. So that's some thoughts on social media governance and issues that might come up.